Welcome to Historical Nights, and thank you for joining me tonight. Wherever you are, whether in the quiet of your room, or resting beneath soft blankets as evening settles, I invite you now, to let the world slow down. Let the noise fade, the tensions release, and allow yourself to drift gently, into a slower rhythm, into the deep flow of history. Imagine yourself drifting back in time. The air is warm and still. You are standing beneath the dappled shade of a fig tree, its broad leaves rustling softly above you. In the distance, the low murmur of a city stirs, distant prayers carried on the wind, mingled with the scent of baking bread and the tang of spices from a nearby market. This is not just any city, and this is not just any time. This is Constantinople, once the seat of empires, now renamed Istanbul, the heart of a realm that for centuries would stretch across continents, commanding oceans and deserts, cities and steppe. Tonight, we begin a quiet journey through the story of the Ottoman Empire, not in a rush, not in battle, but slowly, with care. One moment, one voice, one texture at a time. We'll begin by walking through the rhythm of daily life, not of the sultans, but of the people, the bakers, the calligraphers, the camel drivers, the women drawing water from cisterns. Then, we will gently unfold the life of a single man, Osman I, from whom this vast empire would take its name. From there, we will turn the pages of forgotten texts, unearth the quiet mysteries of Ottoman medicine, architecture, and forgotten cities now lost beneath modern skylines. And finally, we will ascend, to the halls of Topkapi Palace. To the sultans, their silks and shadows, to the delicate machinery of power, and the fragile balance that one day began to crumble. There is no need to remember it all. Let the story flow over you, like water running gently through a stone channel. Let your thoughts drift, and your eyes grow heavy, if they wish to. And now, if you're ready, we begin with a single morning in the Ottoman world. Let's step into the slow rhythm of life in the city of Edirne, around the year 1500. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I am super curious where you're all listening from. So, drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. Imagine yourself now, in the borderlands of Western Anatolia. The year is sometime near the close of the 13th century. The sun has just risen above the horizon, casting soft golden light across the rolling plains. The grass is still wet with dew, each blade catching a moment of light before the breeze sweeps over it. The land here is neither city nor wilderness, it is a quiet frontier. Open. Waiting. Between worlds. This is a world not yet called Ottoman. No grand empire, no sultans with imperial courts, no towering mosques carved in marble. Not yet. Instead, the rhythm of life is carried out under canvas tents and wide skies. The people here are Turkmen, Turkic nomads whose ancestors migrated from the steppes of Central Asia generations before. They are shepherds, horsemen, warriors, mystics. Their lives are shaped by the cycles of nature, migration, rainfall, pasture. A gentle kind of hardship. A steady kind of strength. The camp begins to stir as the sky turns pale. There is no bell to signal the hour, no mechanical clock ticking in a tower. Time here is marked by the natural world, by the call of birds, the scent of the air, the soft glow of light on tent fabric. You hear the rustle of woven felt as someone opens the flap of a tent. A small cooking fire is rekindled, and the scent of smoke begins to drift, warm and faintly sweet. Dried dung and brushwood fuel the flames. Tea is boiled in a brass pot, its surface blackened with age. Flatbread is warmed on a heated stone. A little cheese, cured from sheep's milk, is sliced with a worn blade. There are no tables. No chairs. Meals are taken seated on carpets, with fingers or simple wooden utensils. Men rise early to tend to the animals. Sheep and goats are led out beyond the edges of the encampment, their bleating muffled by distance. Horses are checked and fed. Saddle straps are tightened. Tools sharpened. The air is clean, cool still, though the day will warm. It carries the scent of earth, leather, and grass. A few dogs trot at the edges of the flock, their tails alert, their ears always listening. Though at first glance the encampment appears simple, a few dozen tents arranged in loose clusters, there is a quiet order to everything. The tribal leader, the Bey, lives near the center. His tent is larger, more finely decorated. Inside, its walls are lined with furs, its ground covered in woven rugs from Persia and Armenia. A short sword rests beside his seat, not for ceremony, but readiness. Around him, the tents of his family, his warriors, his loyal followers. At the outer edges, traders, blacksmiths, and herders, those whose roles sustain the tribe but carry less prestige. At the very fringe, wandering dervishes, itinerant scholars, and mystics. They are not members of the tribe, but they are respected, protected. Their prayers are believed to bring luck, and their stories to carry warning. You see one now. An old man seated cross-legged beneath a tree, his eyes closed, his beads passing silently through his fingers. No one disturbs him. The people here dress in layered garments suited to the shifting weather of the plains. Long woolen coats called kaftans, fastened with belts. Loose trousers tucked into boots hardened by dust. Linen or felt caps wrapped in turbans. Every item is practical, meant for movement, for riding, for sudden action. But even practicality allows for beauty. Many wear embroidery, geometric designs stitched into cuffs and hems, bright threads catching light as they move. Patterns that tell of tribe, of lineage, of silent affiliations. Some women wear silver pendants, hung with tiny bells or pieces of carved bone. Children have protective amulets stitched into their garments, wards against the evil eye. No mirror is needed. The reflection lives in the community. Religion is ever present, though not in the formalized, imperial form it would later become. Islam here is woven into life, not separate, but seamless. Prayers are performed 5 times a day, but they are soft, whispered in corners of the camp, on carpets laid facing west. There is no mosque, only the open sky. The stars above serve as compass. The wind reminds one to be humble. Sufi mysticism has taken strong root among these tribes. Songs and poetry passed from teacher to student, chants that echo into the night, not with fire and spectacle, but with gentle yearning. Let the soul travel beyond the horse, beyond the sword, beyond the flesh, into stillness. One might hear this said beside a fire, while tea steams and the moon rises. These are not idle words. For those who live close to danger, to famine, to war, to death, contemplation becomes a necessity. A refuge. Just over the hills, to the west, lies the crumbling edge of the Byzantine world. Fortified towns where Greek-speaking Christians tend vineyards and old churches. Some are hostile. Many are simply weary of taxation, of corrupt governors, of a fading empire. Raids happen, yes. But so do marriages. So does trade. The Ottoman frontier, even before it bore the name, was a place of contact. A shifting tapestry of languages and customs, Turkish, Greek, Armenian, Arabic, Mongol. You hear children playing in mixed tongues. A peddler tells fortunes with Greek coins and Arabic proverbs. An old woman sings lullabies that no longer know their origin. Boundaries are blurred, not erased. This is how cultures meet, not in proclamations, but in the small spaces between markets and mealtimes. The frontier is not safe. Rival beyliks exist nearby, other Turkish warlords with their own followers, their own ambitions. Fights break out, skirmishes over pasture, over insult, over blood. But most conflict here is cautious, calculated. No army yet. No grand declarations. The men ride out in groups, a dozen at most, with bows and spears. They move quietly through forests, across hills, always watching, always listening. They fight from horseback, then vanish into the night. A style of warfare built on patience. And when one returns wounded, arrow in the shoulder, blood seeping through wool, it is the women who tend to him. Not with panic. With skill. Poultices are mixed from honey and herbs. Incantations are whispered. And by the morning, life continues. Because it must. The sun begins to lower in the sky, turning the landscape gold and lavender. Shepherds return with their flocks, their shadows long across the hills. Fires are lit once more. The scent of roasted meat, onion, and cumin fills the air. Children gather to listen to stories. The old tales, of Oghuz Khan, of great ancestors, of magical birds and hidden caves. Tales that remind them who they are, and who they may yet become. Adults speak in low voices. There is always some tension, a lost herd, a sick horse, the rumor of a Byzantine patrol seen in the valley. But beneath it all, a calm endurance. They have weathered worse. A woman sings softly as she spins thread. A man sharpens his blade with quiet rhythm. The stars emerge, one by one. And slowly, the camp quiets. None of these people, not the boy learning to ride, nor the girl carrying bread to her grandmother, nor the young warrior cleaning his saddle, knows what will come. They do not know that a man named Osman, one of their own, will soon begin a chain of events that will lead to sultans, to palaces, to a capital city straddling two continents. They do not yet see the outlines of empire. But the seed is there. In the hospitality of the tents. In the discipline of the fighters. in the adaptability of a people between worlds. Empires do not always begin with ambition. Sometimes they begin with survival. A family that persists. A tribe that endures. A leader who sees just a little farther than the rest. And so, as the fires burn low, and sleep settles over the encampment, the future waits, quietly. Just beyond the hills. Just beyond history. Imagine yourself sitting near the edge of a flickering fire, in a world where the sky is wide and speech is slow. A few men gather in a circle. Their cloaks are heavy with travel. Their faces lined with thought. One of them, calm and quiet, listens more than he speaks. His name is Osman. He does not call himself a sultan. Not yet. He is a bey, the leader of a small tribe, modest in number, but rich in loyalty. And tonight, he is dreaming. The story, one of the oldest and most beloved in Ottoman tradition, begins with a vision. Osman sleeps in the house of Sheikh Bali, a Sufi mystic and scholar. He has come to study, to seek counsel, and perhaps, to rest. That night, Osman dreams. In the dream, from his chest grows a great tree, a fig tree, tall and wide. Its branches stretch outward across mountains and rivers. Beneath it lie cities, domes, oceans, and stars. The sky is filled with its leaves. Its roots drink deeply from the earth. He wakes, unsure of what it means. But Sheikh Bali interprets it gently. He tells Osman, the tree is a symbol. It means rule, destiny, empire. From Osman's lineage will come a great house, one that will shelter many people, not just his own, but others, strangers, even enemies. It is not a command. It is a possibility. And Osman carries it with him, not as certainty, but as a seed. Osman was born around the year 1258, the same year that Baghdad, the heart of the Islamic world, fell to the Mongols. It was a time of collapse. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum, which had once ruled much of Anatolia, was crumbling. The Byzantines held their cities, but their empire was fragmented, fading, like a candle that gutters just before going out. Power was local now. A patchwork of beyliks, independent Turkish principalities, dotted the landscape, each with their own ambitions, their own borders. Osman inherited leadership of one such beylik from his father, Ertugrul. The territory was modest, centered around the town of Sagat, close to the Byzantine frontier. Fields, a river, a market road. And the constant presence of opportunity, or danger. Osman's rule began not with grandeur, but with decisions, one after another, made slowly, cautiously, in the dust of reality. Power, in these years, was personal. There were no bureaucracies to lean on. No imperial systems to enforce loyalty. To lead, one needed trust. And Osman earned it, not through fear, but through consistency. He kept his promises. He rewarded his fighters with land, not gold. He allowed Christians to live under his protection, so long as they paid a modest tax and caused no trouble. He married wisely, forming alliances with neighboring tribes. And he kept close ties with Sufi dervishes, spiritual guides who gave his rule a sense of divine legitimacy, of cosmic alignment. Many of his early followers came not from nobility, but from the restless and the rootless. Men who had lost farms in the Mongol invasions, who had no home, but needed purpose. Osman offered it. He offered Gaza, a holy struggle, not just as battle, but as meaning. To fight, not for plunder, but for belief. To build something that would endure. Osman's first military actions were not grand campaigns. They were raids, precise, strategic, careful. He struck at nearby Byzantine outposts, not fortified cities, but watchtowers, supply lines, isolated garrisons. Each victory was small, but symbolically rich. One such event is the Battle of Bapheus, in 1302. Osman's forces, mostly light cavalry, defeated a Byzantine army led by a provincial governor. The Byzantines were shocked. This was not a major force, just a local chieftain, they thought. But Osman's success signaled a shift. The balance of power on the frontier had changed. More importantly, these victories brought prestige. Other tribes began to align themselves with Osman. Some joined willingly. Others were absorbed over time, folded into a growing network. In one generation, Osman transformed a small border principality into a nucleus of something larger. Osman did not rule alone. Nor could he. He was surrounded by Ghazis, frontier warriors motivated by both faith and loyalty. Men like Aka Koka, Konar Alp, and Abdurrahman Ghazi, names now etched into Ottoman legend. But more than warriors followed him. Craftsmen came, seeking safety. Farmers moved to lands under his protection. Scholars, mystics, and storytellers gathered near his growing settlements. A community took root, one where law began to replace tribal custom. Osman introduced early forms of taxation and land tenure. Justice was handled locally, by wise men known as qadis. Even in these early days, the seeds of structure began to sprout. This was not yet an empire. But it was something more than a tribe. Though Osman left no written records of his own, later chroniclers described the emergence of key symbols during his time. The crescent and star, now so closely associated with the Ottomans, began to appear more often on banners and standards. The term Ottoman itself, or Osmanli, meaning of Osman, began to take hold among his followers. Not imposed. Adopted. A sense of shared identity, not by ethnicity, but by allegiance. This was new. This was powerful. Not every gain was won by the sword. Osman often used diplomacy, arranging marriages, negotiating terms, allowing former enemies to retain status under his rule. Christian subjects were allowed to keep their churches, and in some cases, even served in administrative roles. This pragmatic inclusivity would become a defining trait of the Ottoman state. Conquest, yes. But also coexistence. Order, where there had been instability. Stability, where there had been fear. Osman ruled for several decades, though exact years vary in historical records. In his later years, his eyesight began to fade. He could no longer ride easily, nor lead troops in battle. But his vision remained clear. He called his son, Orhan, to his side. And with a voice soft from age, he gave him a set of final instructions, words that would guide generations. Be just, always. Strengthen the faith. Protect the weak. Do not burden your people. Trust those who serve with honor. And never forget, all power is a gift, not a possession. It is said he died shortly thereafter, around the year 1326, the same year his son Orhan captured the important city of Bursa, which would become the first true capital of the Ottoman state. Osman was buried there, in a modest tomb overlooking the hills. The tree from his dream, perhaps, still growing in spirit. Osman never wore a crown. Never ruled from a palace. Never saw the grandeur that would come in later centuries. But his genius lay in patience. In clarity. In the quiet conviction that even a fractured world could be reshaped. He offered more than land. He offered belonging, to Muslims, Christians, nomads, and settled people alike. And that idea, that loyalty could transcend tribe, would carry the Ottomans across continents and centuries. Let us pause here. Think not of the wars to come, nor of the sultans yet unborn. Think instead of the man beneath the fig tree. Of the soft crackling of firewood. Of the night wind moving through the grass. In that silence, something began. Not loudly. Not suddenly. But steadily. And that steady heartbeat, of a leader, a tribe, a vision, would echo long into the centuries. Imagine yourself now, stepping quietly through the winding streets of an Ottoman town. The sun is low in the sky, casting long, mellow shadows across intricately carved stone and wood. The scent of baked bread mingles with the soft fragrance of rosewater and incense. You hear the gentle clatter of artisans' tools and the whisper of voices discussing poetry or theology in a shaded cafe. This is a place of layered history, where the old and the new intertwine, where tradition and innovation rest side by side. It is here, in these cities and towns, that the true character of the Ottoman world reveals itself, not through grand battles, but through culture, faith, and daily life. At the dawn of the Ottoman rise, their settlements were simple, wooden houses and tents scattered around pastures and rivers. But as power grew, so too did the need for permanence, for cities that could sustain administration, commerce, and culture. The earliest Ottoman cities were often built atop or near Byzantine ruins, stones repurposed, walls rebuilt, a quiet palimpsest of civilizations. Take Bursa, captured by Orhan in 1326, often called the first Ottoman capital. Here, the landscape began to shift. Mosques, baths, markets, and caravanserais were constructed, each thoughtfully designed to serve the community. A central bazaar became the heart, a place alive with merchants from across the known world. Spices, silk, copper vessels, and carpets passed hands beneath vaulted ceilings lit by filtered sunlight. Narrow streets twist through neighborhoods shaded by overhanging eaves. Small fountains bubble gently, their water cool against the heat of the day. Courtyards offer quiet refuge, gardens filled with cypress and jasmine, places for reflection and conversation. Listen closely. The city is never silent, but its sounds are gentle. The rhythmic pounding of the muezzin's call to prayer rises softly from minaret to minaret, a serene invitation, not a demand. It echoes through alleys, rolling over rooftops, a constant reminder of faith's presence. Down below, vendors chant quietly, their voices mingling with the laughter of children chasing one another through the market. From a nearby workshop comes the low hum of a hammer shaping metal, the scrape of a chisel carving wood. The occasional clip-clop of horse hooves on cobblestones. And, always, the murmur of conversation, in Turkish, Arabic, Persian, Greek, a polyphony of cultures interwoven by commerce and coexistence. Faith was never a distant concept. It was woven through the very fabric of the city. Mosques were centers of community life, not only places for prayer but also for education, social welfare, and discourse. The great mosque of Bursa, Ulu Kamiai, built in the late 14th century, is a marvel of understated grandeur. Inside, soaring columns support a high dome. Light filters softly through stained glass, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on stone floors worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The air inside is cool, scented faintly with incense and the warmth of countless candles. Every Friday, the community gathers, men, women, and children, listening to sermons that blend scripture with reflections on justice, charity, and the responsibilities of leadership. Around the mosque, madrasas, schools, open their doors to students of theology, science, and philosophy. Scholars write on parchment by candlelight, debating ideas that flow between East and West. Ottoman architecture is a study in balance, between function and beauty, tradition and innovation. Domes rise like gentle hills against the skyline. Arches curve with elegant restraint. Walls are adorned with delicate tilework, blues and greens in intricate floral and geometric patterns. Take, for instance, the famous Iznik tiles, hand-painted with lapis lazuli, turquoise, and ruby red. They are not just decoration but a meditation in color and form, designed to calm the spirit. Public fountains, called sibil, offer water freely to travelers and locals alike, a gift of hospitality. Hammams, or public baths, are places of ritual cleansing and social gathering. The warm steam inside folds softly around marble walls and heated stone platforms. Conversations unfold here quietly, beneath the gentle splash of water. Trade was the pulse of Ottoman cities. Silks from Persia, spices from India, metals from Europe, all passed through bustling markets. Merchants and artisans formed guilds, regulating quality and price, supporting each other. You might see a jeweler carefully setting a stone in gold, or a weaver turning threads into rich carpets. Money changers sit at wooden tables, weighing silver coins, their eyes sharp and calculating. Every transaction is both practical and social, a chance to build relationships, to share news, to exchange stories. Markets were also places of quiet diplomacy, where different communities met under a shared roof. The Ottoman city was home to diverse peoples. Muslims, Christians, Jews, Armenians, Greeks, each lived in their own quarters, worshipped in their own places, but all were connected by trade and daily interactions. The millet system allowed these communities a degree of self-governance. Religious leaders handled civil matters, education, and cultural traditions. This system was not without tension, but it allowed relative peace and coexistence. You can imagine walking through a neighborhood where a church bell rings softly in the distance while a minaret's call rises nearby. Neighbors share the same baker, the same water source, the same street. The Ottomans were patrons of art, music, and learning. Poetry was highly valued, often performed in gatherings lit by candlelight. Poets wove words of love, loss, and divine yearning. Music echoed through palaces and taverns alike, the gentle pluck of the saz, the low drone of a reed flute. Miniature painting flourished, illustrating manuscripts with delicate scenes full of color and symbolism. Science and medicine advanced quietly in madrasas and hospitals, where herbal remedies were prepared and knowledge carefully preserved. Archaeology reveals layers of this culture. Beneath the city streets lie foundations of earlier civilizations: Roman, Byzantine, Seljuk. Each new layer tells a story of adaptation and renewal. Tombs of forgotten rulers, inscriptions in fading script, pottery shards with delicate motifs. The past is not erased but absorbed, carried forward in stone and story. Pause here for a moment. Feel the cool stone beneath your fingers. Hear the faint drip of water from a fountain. Smell the soft scent of jasmine on the breeze. The city, alive and breathing, is both ancient and immediate. It holds secrets in its walls, stories whispered in shadowed alcoves, lives lived in quiet dignity. As night falls and the city lights begin to glow, lanterns hung in windows, candles flickering behind lattice screens, imagine stepping away from these streets. Beyond the grandeur, beyond the daily rhythm, there lies a world of social contrasts, of power and privilege. The next part of our journey will explore those spaces, the palaces and mansions, the elite lives that both reflected and shaped the empire. But for now, rest in the soft calm of the city, a place where faith, art, and community weave a tapestry as intricate as the tiles on a mosque wall. Imagine now that you are led away from the bustling streets and humble neighborhoods we have walked through, and gently brought to the grand world of the Ottoman elite, the sultans and their palaces, where power was concentrated but also carefully balanced. Here, the rhythm of life beats differently, slower, more deliberate, yet beneath the surface lies a complexity shaped by politics, family, and tradition. By the time Orhan, Osman's son, expanded the territory, the role of the sultan began to take shape as not merely a tribal leader, but a sovereign. He was the head of state, the commander of armies, the protector of faith. But this role was also deeply ceremonial, wrapped in rituals that underscored both authority and humility. The sultan's image was carefully crafted. Clad in fine robes embroidered with gold thread, seated beneath richly adorned canopies, holding a jewel-encrusted staff that symbolized justice. His presence was meant to inspire respect, a calm but firm hand guiding the vast empire. Topkapi Palace, constructed in Istanbul after the city's capture in 1453, would come to symbolize the seat of Ottoman power. But even before Topkapi, early sultans resided in more modest palaces or fortified camps, evolving their homes into centers of administration. Picture yourself walking through the courtyards of Topkapi. The cool shade of cypress trees filters the sunlight. Fountains ripple gently in courtyards paved with smooth marble. Silk curtains flutter softly in the breeze. Inside, Rooms are adorned with rich carpets, delicate ceramics from Iznik, and walls lined with calligraphy, verses from the Quran reminding all who enter of divine order. One cannot speak of the Ottoman elite without mentioning the harem, often shrouded in mystery and misconception. The harem was the private domain of the Sultan's family, his mother, wives, concubines, and children, a place of both refuge and influence. Though it was guarded and secluded, the women within it played crucial roles. The Valide Sultan, the Sultan's mother, often wielded considerable political power, advising and sometimes guiding her son's decisions. Education was valued here. Women were taught languages, music, poetry, and religious studies. Life in the harem was a delicate balance of hierarchy, ceremony, and close relationships, a microcosm of the empire's complexity. The Sultan's day followed a measured rhythm. Mornings began with prayer and meditation, often in the palace mosque. The Sultan would receive reports from his viziers, officials entrusted with governance. Meetings were conducted with strict etiquette, silence and formality often speaking louder than words. Meals were elaborate yet calm affairs. Fresh fruits, honeyed desserts, fragrant teas served in delicate porcelain. Yet behind this serenity lay a constant undercurrent of politics. Rivalries, alliances, and whispers shaped decisions that could alter the fate of millions. While the elite lived in comfort and order, the vast majority of the empire's population experienced a different reality. Farmers labored in fields under the harsh sun. Craftsmen worked long hours shaping metal, weaving cloth, or carving wood. Women in villages managed households, tending gardens, preparing food, caring for children. Disease and hardship were ever-present companions. Yet there was dignity in these daily tasks, a rhythm that connected generations. Among the most fascinating aspects of Ottoman elite society were the Janissaries, the Sultan's elite infantry corps. Recruited through the Devshirm system, a levy on Christian boys taken to be trained as soldiers and administrators, the Janissaries embodied both discipline and loyalty. They were given rigorous training, educated in languages and military arts, and became a key pillar of the empire's strength. Their uniforms were distinct, their drills precise, a calm but powerful presence on the battlefield and in the capital. Though the Sultan was supreme, much of the day-to-day governance was managed by a complex bureaucracy. The Grand Vizier acted as the Sultan's chief minister, coordinating administration and military affairs. Other officials managed taxation, justice, and public works. This system allowed the empire to govern a vast and diverse population. Yet it required constant vigilance. Corruption and intrigue were ever-present dangers. The Ottoman elite marked the calendar with festivals that blended religious observance with imperial grandeur. The Ramadan celebrations, for example, brought the court and city to life with quiet joy. The Sultan's procession, a carefully choreographed event, displayed power through pageantry, horses adorned with silks, attendants in vibrant robes, the Sultan himself moving with serene authority. These ceremonies reinforced hierarchy but also fostered a sense of unity. Education was prized within elite circles. Palace schools taught theology, poetry, philosophy, and statecraft. Sultans themselves were often well-versed in multiple languages and arts. Patronage of scholars and artists helped the empire remain a center of learning. Libraries, such as the one established in Topkapi, preserved manuscripts from across the Islamic world and beyond. Imagine the weight of responsibility borne by the Sultan. Not as a tyrant, but as a custodian. Each decision echoed through cities and villages. The empire was a living organism, delicate, complex, requiring care and attention. Power was both gift and burden, a constant balancing act. As you gently step back from the opulence and complexity of the Ottoman elite, let your mind settle on the quiet spaces between the grand moments. The soft rustle of silk, the flicker of candlelight, the distant murmur of water. In these moments, history is not loud or overwhelming, but a steady pulse, inviting you to rest, to dream, and to drift. You are here now. Still. At the edge of centuries. Not in the court of a sultan, nor the tent of a nomad. But in a quiet space between time and memory. The story of the Ottoman Empire is not only one of expansion and collapse. It is also one of silence and persistence. Of a shepherd who dreamed beneath the stars. Of scrolls illuminated in amber lamplight. Of music echoing through hospital halls and fountains trickling in palace gardens. In its fullness, the empire was not a single monolith, but a tapestry. Woven over 600 years. Threaded with war and wisdom, tradition and change, ritual and resistance. From the whisper of traders in Aleppo to the solemn footfall of Janissaries in the snow. From the heavy ink of decrees signed in the divan to the quiet laughter of children in village courtyards. The Ottomans lived in rhythm. That rhythm, at times, thundered. At times, it softened to a hum. And in the end, as all rhythms do, it faded. But it never truly vanished. As you lie here now, in your own place and time, you may feel that contrast most of all. No towering gates. No viziers waiting in shadowed rooms. Only the hush of a quiet evening, or perhaps the stillness of a dim bedroom, or a solitary walk along a peaceful street. And yet, even here, there is a kind of echo. The stories of the past, gently told, reach forward. Not to demand your attention, but to offer it softly. To show you that the struggles of those long gone, the dreams of rulers and the hopes of peasants, the search for meaning, beauty, and belonging, are not so different from your own. Let us return, just for a moment, to that vision beneath the fig tree. A tree growing from the chest of a young man. Its branches spreading wide. Its leaves stirring in the wind. Its shade welcoming all. That dream, whether history or legend, holds something universal. That from something small. A gesture, a word, a moment of compassion. Something enduring may grow. Empires fall. But meaning remains. And in this quiet space we've shared. A space filled with murmured history and softened light. Perhaps you have felt something of that rhythm. A slower beat. A deeper breath. A lullaby of stone, silk, ink, and wind. There is nothing more to chase. The battles are long ended. The scrolls are rolled and shelved. The domes stand watch beneath the stars. Close your eyes, if you haven't already. Let the names fade into shadow. Let the stories rest. Tonight, you are far from the court. Far from the fires of the frontier. You are in a world of your own making. Quiet. Safe. Still. And if sleep comes to you now, let it come gently. The Ottomans are gone. But the night remains. Thank you for joining us on this whispered journey through the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire. Until next time, may your dreams be still, and your thoughts drift like clouds over the Bosphorus. Good night.